Um, going live, going live. And we're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Sweeney May, and I'm the marketing and business development manager at Plaza West Covina, which is under the PRCP company, stands for Pacific Retail Capital Partners. And so I am very, very excited to have Travis here and Cheryl here that will be sharing lots of valuable information about pop-ups because they are going to be our specialty leasing or local leasing experts on the panel. I do have another person on the panel, and her name is Heather, but we had a little bit of issue getting her here. However, I do have her notes, so I'm going to add whatever input she had on the questions I'll be asking Travis and Cheryl. And so, welcome everyone. Just before we get started and get some introductions going on, I want to see if you guys are alive in the chat room. So, why don't you guys type in where you're from, what city you're in, so that we get a little bit of an idea of where where you're at, how Travis or Cheryl or Heather can help you based on your location. So if you want to type in the chat where you're from, let us know. We want to know about where you are. Okay. Well, while we are waiting for some of those answers to come on, I just want to thank Retail Boss Janelle and Alyssa for having us on here and creating this platform, because the pop-up culture is definitely rising and getting a lot of traction and being the trend at the moment. And so without further ado, I'd like for our panelists to introduce themselves. I will start with Travis. Travis, tell us about you.
Well, thank you, Sweeney May, for welcoming me to the panel. I've been in the specialty leasing, local leasing, temporary leasing, pop-up leasing industry for about 15 years. I've worked for smaller private developers in upstate New York. I've worked with GGP, formerly GGP, now known as Brookfield, Westfield, and now Pacific Retail Capital Partners. So a plethora of malls, mostly in the New York region, but now I reside in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. But my title with Pacific Retail is Regional Local Leasing Director, and I actually kind of lead our local leasing department on the East Coast and in the central regions.
And just a little tidbit, guys. Travis is going to be one of my bosses. Is that what?
No, not boss.
But I work with him in the same company now. And the previous company I worked with, Cheryl and I worked together. So I'm going to have her introduce herself. So Cheryl, you're unmuted. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Cheryl Roberts. I began my career in the shopping center industry in 1996 as a marketing director, and have had the privilege to work for major shopping center developers such as Westfield America and General Growth Properties, which was the name back then. Now it's Brookfield, as Travis mentioned. In 2006, I transitioned my career from marketing to specialty leasing and became the business development rep for General Growth Properties. In 2010, I left to take a position as the specialty leasing manager at the Outlets in Orange, in California, which was owned by the Simon Group. In 2013, I left Simon to work for a smaller company, Vintage Capital Group, as their specialty leasing manager. They owned the centers, South Bay Pavilion in Carson, California, where I met Sweeney. This proved to be a good decision for me because in 2017, I was promoted to general manager. In 2020, I left South Bay Pavilion and accepted a job with Site Centers, Inc. as the senior regional property manager who oversees their California properties, which consists of outdoor centers and mixed use centers. I'm still there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Travis and Cheryl. And I just want to share with you also, I have a third person here, but we have technical difficulties and she can't be on, but her name is Heather. And she's been in the specialty leasing with Irvine Company for 20 years, and one of the largest privately held real estate developers in the U.S. She's also worked on about 30 neighborhood community centers, 3 regional centers, and right now she's primarily located in the Orange County, California. So even though she's not here on the stage, she's actually listening in and being able to, I think she'll be able to chat. And you have Travis here and Cheryl and Heather's expertise. So when we are at the question and answer portion, feel free to ask anything you want. But I'm going to ask our panelists my first question because I know that this is a hot topic. So the first question is, the pop-up industry is becoming a trend, especially during the pandemic recovery phase. What tips can you share with prospective vendors who might currently be designing their pop-up program? Can they build a pop-up model that would give them leverage in rent negotiation or lease negotiation? So I will start with Travis in the same order. So Travis, go ahead, take it away.
Fair enough. Absolutely would agree. Pop-up is becoming a more important thing in today's kind of pandemic going into post-pandemic world. We see an ebb and flow in specialty leasing, temporary leasing, pop-up leasing, and it goes from very corporate to very grassroots. And when we see these dips where people have been taken out of their jobs, some of them are willing to try their dream to invest sometimes their life savings into getting a grassroots business going. So absolutely important right now. Some of the things that we look for, or I think that are important, is sharing as much information about what you want to do. We get lots of inquiries in some of our centers. Getting as much information about what you sell, what your price point is, what your business is. Very often, some malls, if they're well financed, have resources to even help you with their visual merchandising. Knowing what you do gives us an idea of where to place you or what areas to propose to you. You may have specific needs, like a higher utility, and it may be an older mall, so we need to make sure there's a location or an outlet, as simple as that, can then support your business for the time that you're going to be there. The location that you need has all of the things that you need to run the business smoothly. As far as design, we absolutely love cool and unique designs. I won't lie, sometimes I have given a discount or two for that sexy retail that's new, that we don't have in the center. It doesn't have to be expensive to look expensive. But of course, all of our centers have different requirements, right? So some of them have permitting processes with a local building department if you're bringing in a unit that's different. So it's really location specific. But yes, I would say a cool and unique design and a cool and unique product definitely gets the attention of a local leasing manager.
Cool. Thank you. I love what you said, Travis. You have given a discount or two for a sexy design. So for all of you guys that are listening out there, your design, especially the presentation just before this panel, talked a lot about how important your design is for your pop-up shop. So really, really spend some time on that. So Cheryl, what about you, Cheryl?
If I were to put on my specialty leasing hat in today's market, one of the questions that I would ask is new retailers is how many followers do you have on social media? Value what customers you're going to bring to the mall and to the table, besides your product and your money to pay rent. A good example of this would be, I would think of Bretman Rock cosmetics line. He's a social media influencer, and he started his cosmetics line. And when he first started, he had such a large following that his first cosmetic products were sold out immediately. And then eventually he transitioned and partnered with Morphe, where his lines are being sold currently. But, if I were to work with a retailer, that would be the main question I would ask. Also, I would ask, do you have an online store? And I know that there's been some debate about like, well, if I have an online store, what do I need a brick and mortar for? Well, ask Amazon. Amazon opened up kiosks, they opened up inline stores, because they want their customers to have that touch and feel, and that instant gratification. They don't have to wait. They can purchase it right away. And I think shopping centers, they've gotten a bad rap. And yes, there's been a lot of bankruptcies and a lot of closings of different major stores, but it's still considered a place where people gather and, they play, they eat, they shop, I think there's still a market for shopping centers, to visit, even though it's kind of tough because of COVID. But there are people that are willing to wait in line to shop. And an example of this is at the South Bay Pavilion, if you recall, Sweeney, when Burlington Coat Factory and Ross reopened during COVID, there were lines outside the door just to get in because people were so tired of staying home. They wanted to shop and they wanted to find a value. They wanted to find something different. They just wanted some fresh air or some not so fresh air inside the store, but they wanted to get something. They wanted to have some kind of sense of normalcy. And I think shopping is normal. But getting back to an online store, I think another example that I'd like to bring up is Sophia Amoroso, founder and former owner of Nasty Gal. She started selling her vintage merchandise on eBay, and then she had her own online store, and then expanded to open her first store on Melrose and then 3rd Street Promenade. And, it's a great concept. At the time she opened up her Nasty Gal stores, they weren't all vintage clothes, but, it did well until it didn't. But I think as a pop-up, it created a lot of buzz, and there's a lot of great opportunities for new retailers out there.
Thank you, Cheryl. And what I'm hearing from what you've said, the most important thing is just because you have an online store doesn't mean you don't need a brick and mortar store or vice versa. So a lot of times that online store and brick and mortar store can really have a good synergy. And that's, kind of like a part of like an omni-channel structure. So you have your online experience that can then transition into a physical experience where design would be really, really important. And I do want to also point out some of Heather's notes for this question is for her in her experience with Irvine Company and her 20 years experience of specialty leasing, what is important to her for pop-ups is to know your numbers. What is your projected sales? What sales do you need to make to be profitable? And are they realistic? What is going to be your margin? Is it going to be healthy? What are your expenses? Funding? How do you have enough funds to be able to cover your rent and operations through the term you are signing up for, and legally commit through the term? Because it's not the shopping center's main responsibility to ensure your success. It is your responsibility. Also, she adds on here, who is your customer? Do you know your business structure through and through fully? Dial in your customer demographic and pursue your locations and that serve the customer base. She advises that you visit the center before you even reach out. Is it the right fit for your concept? Do they already have a similar business? If yes, what sets you apart? Be prepared to sell yourself and your concept. Annual traffic is another thing that she had added on her notes is consider things like annual traffic. Ask how traffic is trending now compared to before the pandemic. If you're a first-time tenant, that is totally okay. Just be clear on the items that you are not yet comfortable with, like merchandising and marketing, so that the specialty leasing team and marketing team will know how to assist you so that you can be successful. And yes, I think that all of that is very important. And as far as outreach, according to Heather, she wants, she's looking for people that will do a lot of their outreach even before they open. So to Cheryl's point too, do you have a social media following already? Like, if you are already a business that has an e-commerce platform, is your clout strong enough to help you in ramping up to have these people visit you in your brick and mortar store? So all of that really is important. And I do want to ask my next question to the panel.
Sweeney,
When it comes to pop-ups, what are some of the things that you're looking for in your respective centers? Because I know Travis oversees a couple of different markets, and Cheryl oversees a couple of different markets as well. And so what is it that you're looking for in your respective centers so that our listeners can see if they are a good fit for you as well? So Travis, go ahead.
Well, to just echo what Cheryl said with online presence, that's something we look for. Something that we're also looking for, I'm going to echo what Heather said, all of those details, like I said before, as much information as possible. So I love that she mentioned financials, but what we're looking for is to probably, it depends on the length of the term. Are you looking for a year? Are you looking for a month? Are you looking for 6 months? Are you looking for a weekend? We can focus and put you on the right path, kind of knowing what your idealistic term is. If you're only coming to us for a weekend, I'm going to shamelessly plug Pacific Retail at this moment. We're doing a Cosmicon event in September, all focused on mineral, makeup, wellness. We're going to be looking for literally weekend pop-ups on that event, which is pretty much going to include all of our properties nationwide. So it's at this point 19 centers. But to dive it down to a specific center and across the board, we're looking to curate. If someone's coming to us to open a store for 6 months to a year, we're looking to curate different uses than what we already have. What is it that you're bringing that's unique? So I think I answered the question.
No, I love it. I love that you plugged in the Cosmicon because obviously I'm under PRCP as well, so I'll be doing it in my center. So if you guys are in the beauty industry, just go ahead and look up PRCP and look at all the properties and see if there's one in your location and see if you can participate and reach out to the local marketing or local leasing person and put your name in the hat. Okay, so
to echo in on what Cheryl said with digital presence and following. Pacific is looking into different options at specific centers where we're actually asking for rights to your sales information and your online information. And if you actually only have a physical, and you're not digitally native and you're not like only on Etsy, and maybe you're only going to the craft fair, the local craft fair or local event at the farmer's market every week, we're looking at ways to help our tenants actually go online and help you capture all of that extra sales. And we find that if you've got a sales online and sales in a physical setting, you're actually doubling down and you make more money than your counterparts that decide to siphon into one side or the other.
I love it. And isn't it like, I feel like if you guys have ever watched Shark Tank, like you got to know your numbers, right? When you approach any of the local leasing person, specialty leasing person, they're going to ask you all of these questions and they might already have a form that you need to fill out before you even get to the next step. So with the numbers that you provide, it helps the local leasing person to see how can you be best helped to open your pop-ups in any locations. So what about you, Cheryl? What are you looking for in your centers?
Well, one piece of advice that I would recommend any retailer prior to approaching a leasing person at a shopping center, and I think this touches on what Heather was talking about, but there used to be this report that we would do as a marketing director called a SWOT analysis. SWOT, and it's an acronym standing for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you can use that to self-analyze your concept or your business or your brand, that will help in your discussions with a specialty leasing manager or a leasing manager. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities that you're seeing at that center? And what are the threats? What is the competition that you're going to be dealing with? And if you can self-assess, you will be prepared. Like Travis says, when you speak with a manager, what are the opportunities there for you? As a leasing manager, what I'm looking for is, two things, shameless, value of what you're going to bring to the center, as I mentioned earlier, but money. I'm not going to lie. We want your rent. Not only do we want rent, and there's two, it comprises of a few things with rent that you have to consider as a temp tenant or a specialty leasing tenant. Now, the agreements can run anywhere between a day, a week, a month, up to 12 months for most companies. Outside of that, then it's not a license agreement, it'll become a lease. So consider the timing of, your projected business concept. But in regards to money, we are looking for a base rent, which is your monthly rent. We're also looking at potentially what's called common area maintenance charges, or our electricity, depending on, if it's an inline or if it's a cart space. And then finally, what we're looking for is overage rent, or some people call it percentage rent. Now, the concept of overage rent is supposedly you win, the landlord wins. If you are exceeding or excelling in your sales, landlord, per your agreement, can charge you a certain percentage after you reach a certain sales amount, which is called a break point. So if your, if your break point is 10%, and we're looking for, and your break point, if your percentage is 10% and your break point hypothetically is $1,000, then 10% of $1,000 is $100 that you would pay us in addition to your base rent. So it's called the win. I consider it the win-win, charge. A lot of retailers don't like it because why should they pay more when they're already paying? And the answer is because we can charge you unless you negotiate it out.
It's just a part of the contract, right? The leasing.
Yes. And I want new retailers, as they approach shopping centers, to kind of open their eyes, because, I think a lot of new retailers, they're so excited about their concept. They want to get out there and they don't read the fine lines. And sometimes, leasing managers, they want you to sign the contract and maybe they may or may not go over these details. So I want you to kind of be aware of these details when you are in negotiations.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. I'm reading some of Heather's response to this question is what she's looking for is a complete, well thought out concept. They do not duplicate what's already at their shopping centers. See, and also savvy owners. She's looking for someone who's savvy, business savvy, right? Because you want someone who's really gonna take that business and run with it, and it doesn't need a lot of hand holding. And she also says the proverbial something different that sets your concept apart from other stores in the center. Also, she's looking for something that merchandisers like a permanent store. So you design and merchandise your pop-up like it's permanent, but it doesn't look like it was put together with bubble gum and spit. I like how she said that. And also a well-considered marketing plan to ensure the store's success. So those are some of the things that she's looking for. And in just a minute, we're going to open it up for questions and answers. So let me see if there's anything in the queue. Alyssa, let me know. if there's anything in the queue, but I'm gonna ask my last question to go around our panel today of experts in specialty leasing and or local leasing. And my last question, just to give the listeners an idea of what is impressing you or what has impressed you, can you tell us what are some of the impressive pop-ups you've seen at your centers or other centers in general? Travis?
Well, thinking back to my last leasing gig, which was Crabtree Valley Mall in Raleigh, North Carolina, we were in the middle of COVID, right? All of us were shut down for a while, and our mall was starting to open up, I want to say May, June time. And I had a business from a local competitor center who had a concept. She wanted to bring it over. She just didn't understand the economics. We actually sat down and went through all of those details that Heather laid out. And I gave her basically a mock-up draft license agreement of what it would look like. And I actually said, take it home and read it, look through it. So all those things important. But she had to kind of reinvent her business to actually fit the center. It's called The Lounge by Moms Redefined. And what it is she has curated about 25 different entrepreneurs, maybe entrepreneurs that are listening in right now where they're smaller. They maybe had a meeting with them all and decided that the finances really couldn't support what they wanted to do. She actually went out and found her own entrepreneurs that were local to the Raleigh and greater North Carolina area and brought them into one retail setting, which was an old motherhood maternity, believe it or not. The success in all of this is she actually did break her break point. She had no intentions of doing that. She did about $80,000 on her third month, where the 3 months in her prior center, she did collectively about $20,000 in sales. So kudos to her to being able to reinvent her business and work with a whole bunch of local retailers, gave exposure to our center. Maybe some of those retailers over time will grow and open up their own common area pop-up or inline store if we've got it available. And to her success, her husband ended up losing his job later on. This is Moms by Redefined, very woman-focused, very kind of woke in today's social atmosphere. He opened up the men's version just 2 weeks ago. And they're seeing great traffic. So those are just two really kind of cool creative concepts that we're seeing. And another one that we've just signed is an Instagram experience. People can come in, there's different vignettes set up, they pay an entrance fee, and they're able to take photos and interact on all the different social platforms to art that's been installed in the space.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow, that is an amazing story. Just to be able to turn the business around and grow that much, right? Unexpectedly. And do you think what is the key thing that you think could be her success could be attributed to?
She had everything that we've talked about in the last 30 minutes. She had an online presence before she came to my door or even knocked on our door. She had already experienced open up a retail setting, and she had time to pick her entrepreneurs that she wanted to work with. So she had a bit of experience, and she knew her numbers, and like I said, had the following behind her. When she did her grand opening, I actually was scared to show it with my fellow brethren and colleagues at Pacific because I think we maxed out on the people that should have been in the space with COVID and everything. We have capacities, obviously, in every single space. She had an awesome grand opening, and her husband's store that opened 2 weeks ago had the same kind of bam, which I think a lot of retailers don't have when they come to us.
That's amazing. If you guys are like creating any sort of business that's that kind of business, make sure you look it up. Cheryl, what about you? What have you seen in the past in your centers or other centers that have been successful?
Okay, my example comes from the past. I mean, some of our audience might not have even been alive back then. I don't know. But I will start by saying in terms of impressive pop-ups, I've seen many pretty and impressive visually merchandised design stores in carts, which have drawn customers to walk in and take a closer look. However, if they did not have the products that the customers needed or thought they needed or had to have, then retailers did not find the return on their investment and did not turn a profit. I'm sorry. Whereas the retailers who knew what customers wanted and was able to provide, again, it's demand and supply. These retailers were able to profit and prosper. And my example is a product from the late 1990s, early 2000s. It was a no fuss, no muss, didn't even have great visual merchandising, but it flew off the carts and temp stores. And that product was Metabolife. This was the miracle diet pill that helped with weight loss. And I believe the price point was about $19.99, which was a conservative price point. This product, the product sales prospered the retailer, the leasing manager, and shopping center for quite some time. Unfortunately, this product met its demise in 2004 when it was discovered that the inventor of this product did not disclose the side effects of the main ingredient, ephedra. But I will say that, infomercials help promote this product, which, infomercials were used prior to social media. And, it reached a large following, which is how it created the demand for this product, because, no one had to wait going to the malls. They can get it immediately. So that instant gratification was met. So that's my sample.
Awesome. And Heather has given a couple of examples as well. She said houseplants. I think that's the name of the pop-up. It was put together in a current 1970s vibe. And this included like add-ons such as containers and hammocks and things. So if you can imagine that, that's a really great vibe, houseplants, 1970s vibe. She also had an example on here that said Wolf Pack Fresh, which is a farm to bowl meals, toppers, and treats for dogs, freshly prepared on site and specified to your dog's personal needs. So that's awesome if you're in a trade area that really is into the pets and dogs. So they had seasonal items like Thanksgiving feast or California bone, poke bowl, or shepherd's pie. That's interesting. She also had on here Hudson's cookies. It was a high-end and high-quality baked goods prepared on site. And lastly, she had Swish Studio, sales of sneakers that are exclusive and in high demand, like, for example, Dior Air Jordans for like $12,000. So those are some of the examples that she had put on here as some of the things that she's found very, very successful in the past. So I do want to wrap this up. We were supposed to be here for about 30 minutes. I think we were right on time. We had a little late start. And I want to thank Travis and Cheryl and Heather. Again, Heather couldn't be on the video. We had some technical difficulties, but I've shared her answers. And again, my name is Sweeney May, and I just want to close this out by saying that, if you're interested in opening up a pop-up, our panel today just really shared a lot of good insight and insights because they're actually the ones that will help you get your agreement moving forward and help to find you spaces that would work for you. So everything that they just shared today, please, keep it in mind. And all the speakers today too, that's talked about how to set up your pop-up and how to design it and all of that. Also, if you are not on Clubhouse yet, and if you're interested in being on Clubhouse and being in conversations about shopping center, you might have seen Rob in the chat room. Rob and I actually host a shopping center group on Clubhouse where we talk all kinds of different topics about shopping centers. So that's a shameless plug for me. And I want to thank again Travis and Cheryl and Heather for being here today. If you guys have any interest in going into any of the spaces they might have available in their respective centers, make sure that you look up the website. I think that Janelle will be sharing with you guys where you can find Travis, where you can find Cheryl, and where you can find Heather, and myself as well. I'm the marketing and business development manager at Plaza West Covina. So if you're interested in that market, I just shared my email on the chat. So thank you guys for being here today. Thank you, Travis. Any last words?
No, it was a great experience and a pleasure to share ideas with you guys this afternoon. Thanks.
Yeah, Travis. And if you, Travis and Cheryl, if you're not really fully acquainted with Retail Boss, they are an amazing organization that helps out a lot of retailers all across America and even in Canada.